to Koam.
Thank you, 안녕하세요, and thank you so much. This is a real delight. I've wanted to come here for years, so thank you for having me.
We have New Year's greeting every year except this year.
No.
And now you're here in person. I'm really glad.
Good, me too. Well, the Korean community is such an important part of our state. The number of business people, men and women who have started businesses that are successful, our students at our colleges that are doing such great work, our community leaders. It's just a wonderful part of our state, so I'm really glad to be able to talk about issues that are important to our Korean neighbors.
Thank you. It's about time for ending the session, legislation session right now. What are some accomplishments you want to share with our community?
Well, we haven't finished the session yet, so those accomplishments have largely not happened yet. But we are very committed to our paramount duty, which is the education of our children. And this year, the legislature needs to pass a budget that will fully fund the education of our children. I'm very committed to that, and that is from early years to later years. We very much need to increase early child education, so our 3- and 4-year-olds are ready for kindergarten. We very much need to have better STEM and STEAM, science, technology, engineering, math, the humanities. I've seen that working. I was just up at Nautilus School, just up the road a little while, seeing students learning to code computers, to build robots when they're in 5th grade. It's very, very impressive in 8th grade. So, and we need to help in our higher education. So we know how important college is, and that's why in my budget I'm proposing that we increase the number of students who can get financial aid, and we decrease tuition so that we make it easier for our kids, students, to finance a college education. So that's the paramount duty of the legislature this year, and I'm looking forward to their negotiations to get that job done. Now, there are many other things we're working on. We want to improve some of the business climate issues, to allow issues to help mentoring small business people. I've proposed a cut for the B&O tax for small businesses, especially for the very small businesses. These startup businesses that are the incubators that start larger businesses. We hope that there might be some relief there. We hope we can do some things to increase traffic safety, to avoid distracted driving. We hope that we can fix our driver's license issues. So there are many subordinate issues, but getting the education of our children is job number one, and I'm excited about getting that job done this year.
I see. For transportation budget, transitions, light trail, or those kind of things, how can it be used?
Well, this was a result. The voters voted, as you know, to build a light rail system from Tacoma to Everett. That's very exciting because we know how bad our traffic is. We don't want to get it worse as much as humanly possible. We know we are a growing state. 60,000 people are moving here every year. So we know we have to improve our transportation corridor. We have to have a way to move people more rapidly. So voters voted to build a light rail system. It's a very large project. It's going to move thousands of people. And it's financed in a variety of ways, but in part an increase in the car tabs. I know this has been disturbing to some folks because they've seen a spike in their amount quite rapidly. So legislators right now are working on a plan to reduce that rate of increase and still allow us to finish the project, because it's very important that we finish this light rail project. We want people to get on light rail, go up to the University of Washington in Seattle, go to University of Washington in Tacoma, go to work at Boeing, Microsoft, and we need to be able to do that.
Also, the capital budget for education, you said the education is priority number one.
Yes. Well, it is in our capital budget as well, and this has been a large need for a very significant part of our capital budget to build new schools and rehabilitate existing schools. And what we have found is that voters across the state have approved bond issues to build new schools and rehabilitate their schools, put in new computer systems and the like, at an unprecedented rate. So we have to increase the percentage of the capital budget that is contributed to schools, and we're excited to get that job done. It's not easy because we have a lot of other things we need to do: build libraries, build water, distribution centers and the like. So, but I think there'll be broad consensus to make sure that we take care of schools first.
So school first.
Schools first.
Yeah. How about the operating budget?
Yes. Well, the operating budget is the budget that is the state financing for all of our public schools in the state. And we need to significantly increase the state contribution to improve the education of our children. More early child education, better computer technology classes, teachers who have more mentoring and compensation so we can have good teachers in our classrooms. We need to have smaller class sizes so teachers have a chance to teach. We need to give our students better access to college education. So from the early years to the later years, we need to make substantial more investments. Now, this is not only because of common sense, because we love our children,
Sure.
It's because the Constitution requires this. The state Supreme Court, in a decision called the McCleary decision, required the state to make substantial, in the billions of dollars, more investment into schools. So we are working for the legislature to reach a consensus. The two parties have different ideas about this. The Democratic Party wants to make a larger investment. The Republican Party so far is unwilling to make the investment that's necessary. We hope that over time that we will reach a consensus. There's no better thing that the state of Washington can do than to give a child a great education. That's our number one constitutional responsibility. It's the highest ambitions of our families. It's what we dream about, which is the future of our children. So I'm very excited about this potential success.
Good. And especially those people who has just small businesses. They are having very difficult time to pay taxes, and especially property tax twice a year.
Yes.
And is there any tax increase?
Yes, the Republicans in the legislature have proposed a fairly significant property tax increase. And it's disparate across the state. It hits this area in Western Washington, many counties, harder. About 38% under the Republican plan of small businesses would get an increase in their property tax. I don't think that's the best way to finance our schools. I don't believe a property tax increase is the best way to finance our schools. I actually have proposed a property tax decrease for most Washington businessmen and women and homeowners, because a lot of people are living on fixed incomes. It's not a progressive tax, and so I've proposed other ways to finance our schools. The Democrats have proposed a different way to finance our schools, where higher income people in the, just the top 0.5% of people would contribute a little bit more in capital gains, not an income tax, but capital gains. I've proposed a tax on carbon, on pollution, so that polluters would pay instead of small business people. So the parties are going to need to come together. Again, I don't think property tax that the Republicans have proposed is the way to do this, but they're going to need to get together, and it is going to have to take some additional revenues for the education of our children. But I think people really care about the education of their children. I think they want their children to have the best. So I believe we should get this done.
Because kids are our future.
Indeed.
Yes. And next is, people are concerned about their health insurance.
Yes.
Through Obamacare. Do they need to just keep it, or do they need to change to different insurance?
Well, I am very pleased about our success with Obamacare. We have 750,000 people who now have insurance in our state as a result of Obamacare. Some of them are small business people, and this is very important to them. I met a small businesswoman in Spokane who had a small business, and she could never get insurance. She finally got insurance because of Obamacare, and very shortly thereafter, she found a lump in her breast and was diagnosed with breast cancer, and fortunately, her life has been saved.
Really fortunate.
Very fortunate, and she said, look, I would not have had that treatment if I hadn't had Obamacare. So this is important to hundreds of thousands of people. So we are going to be very strong and very persistent and very insistent that the president not take that away from people, Koreans or any other community. And we know this is important to many people in the Korean community, a lot of senior citizens obviously, small business people, students. And I think the president is wrong when he and the Republicans have tried to say we can just take this away, or that we can take away the protection against discrimination against people just because they've been ill before. Right now, under the current law, insurance companies can't deny us insurance if we've had diabetes or we've had cancer or we have a heart problem. We still get insurance. There is a proposal right now the Republicans are thinking about to take away that protection. That would not be acceptable. We need to keep this level of protection, and we need to continue the efforts to reduce the cost of insurance premiums. Small business people, it's hard enough if you don't have increasing insurance premiums. We have driven down the rate of inflation in our state from 16% to 6%, in part because of Obamacare. So we want to continue to work to drive down those inflation rates. It's important for businesses. It's important for everyone paying premiums. So rather than repeal this, we ought to look for ways to improve it. I'm open to ideas like that, but we cannot allow the president to take this away from people in Washington.
Lastly, this is very important. How can you protect those immigrants or students who are here for study and work?
Well, this is, again, I'm very proud of our state because Washington State has stood up to protect our immigrants from many communities, from Korea, from the Middle East. We have people coming to start new businesses here. We have people coming here to do research. We have students coming here who help build our communities. And we've seen the success when we allow immigrants to our community. That's fundamentally what the Korean community represents, is the wisdom and the promise of opening our state to new talent, to new entrepreneurs, to new businesswomen and women, to new students. They've helped build our state to make it the most promising and the most successful economy in the United States. If we had closed the door to Koreans, a few decades ago, there are thousands of businesses we would not have. There are thousands of great students we would not have had. The Korean community is an exhibit A of why an open door policy in some sense makes sense. And we don't want to shut that off. So the state of Washington has sued the Trump administration, and we have won. The judges have ruled that the president's policy was illegal, it was unconstitutional, it would not be allowed to stand. And we will continue to insist on preserving fairness, common sense, and the U.S. Constitution. That'll be good for our state. And so far we've succeeded. I believe we will continue to succeed in that regard.
Thank you. And is there anything you want to say more about the Korean community? Well,
one thing I'd like to say is thank you. The Korean community has helped me a lot in many ways. I think of Eunjin Lee, who's a young woman from Renton, whose parents came from Korea, and she has helped me in my gubernatorial efforts and given me advice. She now works for United States Senator. So we are personally appreciative of the community. The one thing I would say is that anytime the Korean community is politically active to share their ideas with their member of Congress or the legislature or me as governor, we really need their insights. We need people to run for office. Cindy, our favorite legislator, has done such a great job for our state. She's a tremendous legislator for all communities, not just the Korean community. And having more people step up and run for office is great too. So we want to thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.